Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Madolche Yugioh deck profile for November 2022. I've been wanting to do an update to the Madolches for a good while now. I was just waiting to get some of the stable support that definitely does help with the playstyle of the deck, which the sole focus of it is to shuffle back Madolche cards from your graveyard and they're destroyed, or even just by using some of your other Madolche cards, and then using the boss monster Xyz monsters to shuffle back your opponent's cards and set up some big boss monsters because of it. It's a really fun deck, and a lot of the support has been reprinted over the years, making it quite affordable to build. But like I said, I just wanted to show what I would play at full power for this deck, and it's been a while since the last update. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters. For the 3-ofs for the Madolches, I run 3 Madolche. When this card in your possession is destroyed and sent to your graveyard, you shuffle this card into the deck. So this is what you will mean by keeping an empty graveyard of monsters, meaning that you'll have some stronger effects for your Madolches, the big ones being your Pudding Cest. But with Madolche as well, when it's normal or flip summon, you can add 1 Madolche monster from your deck to your hand. So just being able to add a Madolche monster just gives you more and more synergy for the deck, along with being able to special summon out your other Madolche monsters. That's why we're also running 3 Madolche Angeli. You contribute this card to special summon 1 Madolche monster from your deck, and if you do, it cannot be destroyed by battle, but shuffle it into the deck during the end phase of your next turn. You can only use this effect of Angeli once per turn, and if this card in your possession is destroyed by your opponent's card and sent to your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck. Once again, just shuffle back power when destroyed by your opponent's card, with the other 3 of that we run in the deck being 3 Madolche Petting-Tisser. With this card, if this card in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card and sent to the graveyard, shuffle it into the deck. And also, if you have no monsters in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. Just an easy special summon, and if this card is special summon, you can special summon 1 Madolche monster from your hand or deck, except for Madolche Petting-Tisser. And also, if you do, reduce its level by 1. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn, except for Madolche monsters. So this gives you access to Pudding Cest, which then, when you special summon out your Pudding Cest onto the field, reducing its level by 1, you can use it to overlay into one of your other Madolche monsters, and then use that monster to rank up into your Madolche Pudding Cest Chocolate a la mode, which then will have your Pudding Cest as one of its materials, giving you its additional monster effect. Along with the 3-ofs, that's the last of them. For the lower numbers, I also run 2 Madolche Hoot Cake. When this card is destroyed by an opponent's card, it shuffles back, and also with this card, you can target 1 monster in your graveyard, banish it. If you do, special summon 1 Madolche monster from your deck, except for Madolche Hoot Cake. You can only use this effect of Hoot Cake once per turn. So the best play is to tribute Angeli to special summon Hoot Cake, because then it gives you a monster in your graveyard, with that being Angeli, to banish for Hoot Cake most of the time. Otherwise, your Madolche monsters just keep getting shuffled back into the deck by their own card effects, not giving you any monsters for Hoot Cake to use. But we have other hand traps that we run in the deck as well, being able to use them to have a banish cost for Hoot Cake anyway. I also run 2 Madolche Messengelato. This will be one of the cards you want to special summon off of Hoot Cake, because when this card is special summoned, if you have a Madolche Beast monster on the field, when it's special summoned, you can add 1 Madolche Spiral Trap from your deck to your hand. So very useful to search out any of the needed cards, whether it be Madolche Ticket, Madolche Chateau, or the Madolche Salon. You have all these options to search for, setting up more and more of your plays to go into. With the last of the Madolche monsters we're running is just the 1 Pudding Cest. Like I said, you can easily special summon this card with your Madolche Petting-Tisser, and then being able to have this card. It gains 800 attack and defense while you have no monsters in your graveyard. If this card in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card and sent to the graveyard, shuffle it into the deck. After damage calc, if it battles an opponent's monster, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy that card. So very useful for the destruction, but the main play comes down to you being able to summon out your Chocolate a la mode with your Petting-Tisser, and then being able to summon out this, overlaying the 2 together and going for that bigger play, which I'll show at the end of the video. For some of the hand traps in the deck, I also run 3 Herald of the Orange Light. This card just helps because we run a good number of fairy monsters, being able to just send those fairy monsters to the graveyard, stopping an opponent's monster effect. With your Pudding Cest, Petting-Tisser, and Angeli, that's the good variety of fairy monsters, along with Herald of the Orange Light itself, to discard for its monster negate. And I also run 3 Dimension Shifter. Not only can it disrupt your opponent's plays, but it also allows you to have a play style of not having any monsters set up in your graveyard, whether you go for the Link Summon by keeping them empty and then just having the fully utilized Madolche cards, especially if you keep your graveyard empty for some of the other cards we run. And then lastly, just the 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Spring. Even if we Dimension Shifter, we can still use this card since you just have to discard Ash Blossom. It doesn't have to go to the graveyard, making it one of the more, usable hand traps in the deck, not like Effect Veiler or Ghost Ogre. And that is it for the main deck monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I run 3 Madolche Salon. I run 3 of this card because we'll use Messengelato for searching out the other spells, which we're just running at 1-ofs. With Salon, during your main phase, you can normal summon 1 Madolche monster in addition to your normal summoner set. You can only gain this effect once per turn. If another Madolche card you control or in your graveyard is added to your hand or shuffled into the main deck by a card effect, you can set 1 Madolche spell or trap directly from your deck, except for Madolche Salon. So the additional normal summon helps because if we do have the 2 Madeline, those 2 normal summons can get us 2 different searches with this card set up on the field. Ideally, you can search it with Messengelato and then set it up on the field since it's just a continuous spell. But like I said, with the 3 of, we always have that better option to search into having this card and then using just the 1 ticket, which gives you a search when a card is returned from your side of the field or graveyard to your hand or main deck by a card effect. And if you control a Madolche Fairy monster, when this card happens, you can special summon the monster that you searched off of ticket. And with Madolche Chateau, when this card is activated, you shuffle all Madolche monsters in your graveyard to your deck, and then all Madolche monsters on the field gain 500 attack and defense. If a monster in your graveyard will be returned to the deck by a card effect, you can add to your hand instead. This is just the consistency I'm talking about, and just the 1-ofs because we have other ways to search these cards to our hands. Now, I also run 2 Pot of Prosperity because it was very difficult for consistency getting the proper cards you need. Sometimes you just needed that 1 Angeli or that 1 Madeline to start off a play, and that's why I run Prosperity, because we do run multiples of many of the different Madolche Xyz monsters in the extra deck. So running Prosperity for the Banish doesn't really bother us at all for this play. And if you don't have Prosperity, you can always put in Pot of Extravagance. If you don't have Pot of Extravagance, you can always run Pot of Desires. It gets more risky depending on which ones you run. That's why I find Prosperity to be the ideal one to use. But if you don't have them, there are budget options available. For the rest of the spells, I just run 1 Call by the Grave and 1 Upstart Goblin. These can be replaced for the 3rd copy of like Extravagance, or if you had a 3rd Prosperity to put in, and Call by the Grave just to stop our opponent's own graveyard plays from resolving. Now for the traps, I run 2 Madolche Promenade. You target 1 face-up card your opponent controls and 1 Madolche monster you control or in your graveyard. Negate the effects of that opponent's card until the end of this turn. And if you do, return your monster to your hand, giving you more of a play style setup with ticket thanks to this card. And then you can banish this card from your graveyard to target 1 Madolche Xyz monster you control. Attach 1 Madolche monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard to it as material, allowing you to reset your pudding cess onto that monster thanks to this card. And I also run 3 Gojin Match just because the good majority of the cards that will summon out into the field are Earth attributes, so it can really shut down your opponent depending on what deck they are playing. And also 3 different Dimension Ground. Once again, just like the Dimension Shifter, this turn any monster sent to the graveyard is banished instead. What's great about the different Dimension Ground is it can still have your spell and traps be set up in the graveyard for you to use because it'll only take the monsters away. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the X deck. I run 2 Madolche Queen Tiara Masu. You need 2 level 4 Madolche monsters to make this card. Once per turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card, then target up to 2 Madolche cards in your graveyard, shuffle those targets into the deck, then shuffle cards your opponent controls into the deck up to the number of Madolche cards returned. This card doesn't target, so very easy to get around a lot of difficult cards on the field. And also for the shuffle effect, if you have cards like your Madolche Salon or Ticket on the field, or even Chateau, you can resolve all these since it is shuffling Madolche cards back into your deck to resolve. Queen Tiara Masu is definitely one of the boss monsters to go into and one of the better cards to use overall in the deck. I also run 2 Glass Souffle. This card's more of a setup card, quick effect. You can detach 1 material from this card, target 1 Madolche monster on the field. This turn, that face-up monster is unaffected by monster effects except its own. And if a Madolche card in your graveyard while this card's on the field, you can shuffle up to 2 cards from the graveyard into the deck, giving you more of a recycle power for those other cards since it just says 2 cards from the graveyard, so you can even take away from your opponent's own graveyard thanks to this card. I also run 3 chocolate a la mode, so we have other targets for the Pot of Prosperities, while still being able to at least have 1 or 2 to use in the deck. With this card, you can also Xyz summon this card by using a rank 4 or lower Madolche Xyz monster you control as material, transferring them onto this card as material. And also with this card, while it has a Madolche Pudding Cess as material, when a Madolche card in your graveyard is shuffled into the main deck, except during the damage step, you can detach 1 material from this card, special summon 1 Madolche monster from your deck in attack position or face down defense position, setting up the Madolche Madolche with that face down option, since it would be either normal summon or flip face up, giving you that additional search thanks to this card. And for more of the generic Xyz monsters, I run 1 Castel, 1 Abyss Dweller, and 1 Tornado Dragon, just for more of the generic rank 4s. I used to run rank 3s, but since Hoot Cake is our only level 3 now, I don't use it as much. If I have to use Hoot Cake for a resource, I will use it for Fresh Start, which can protect our Madolche spell or traps while it's on the field, and just an easy link monster to go into, just needing 2 Madolche monsters. And also 1 Lena the Light Charmer, 1 Barricade Board Blocker, and 1 Apollosa for the rest of the link monster setup. As for some of the go-to plays in the deck, once again, the Angeli can help with a lot of the setup, because then if you just have this 1 Angeli, you contribute it to then summon out your Madolche Hoot Cake onto the field. Then you have that 1 monster in the graveyard to banish off of Hoot Cake. With that, then Hoot Cake will activate, allowing to special summon a monster onto the field. You can special summon out your Messengelato, and depending on what Madolche spell or trap you have, you can then activate that card. You can go for the Chateau, or you can go for the Ticket. If you add Chateau and you don't have any other play to rely on, you can then just link the 2 away, with your 2 cards being then activated for your summon of your Fresh Start on the field, and then being able to activate the Chateau, shuffling these cards back into the deck, and with your Fresh Start being able to protect the field spell. And if this card on the field be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can shuffle 1 Madolche monster from your graveyard into the deck instead. So you can either keep these cards in the graveyard for the setup of your Chateau, activating the Chateau first, and then going in for the link 2, because then you'll have the shuffle back thanks to Start because of it. Or you can even go for the next additional play, which revolves around the Madolche Saloon with this card, or Salon. With this card, you have the 2 additional normal summons. So if you have the 2 Magdalenes, it makes all the better. It just says when its card's normal flip summon, you can add 1 Madolche monster from your deck to your hand. So having Saloon, you can normal summon Magdalene, use Magdalene to search another Magdalene, summon out that Magdalene with the additional normal summon, and then use this one to add your Petiting Sour to your hand. And then you can special summon this, since you control no monsters in your graveyard. With this play then set up, you have the additional option, if it's special summon, to special summon a Madolche monster from your hand or deck, and reducing its levels. You can then summon out onto the field, thanks to it, your Pudding Cess, using the 2 to overlay into your go-to monster, which since it's a level 4, you can then go into your Madolche Glass Souffle, and then use that one to go into your Chocolate a la mode. Having the Pudding Cess on it, having the additional detach 1 for the 1, make sure you keep the Pudding Cess on it, detaching that card, and then having the additional special summon from your deck onto the field. Then you can use the 2 Magdalenes to overlay into your Tiramisu, because you have to have 1 Madolche monster at least in your graveyard to detach 1, and then shuffle both back into the deck to shuffle back 2 cards your opponent may control, giving you a pretty good board presence along with the Salon. And with the Salon, during the main phase with that play, if another Madolche card you control is added to your hand or shuffled into the deck, you can set 1 Madolche's trap. So with the shuffle back of Queen Tiramisu, you can then set the Promenade on the field also with that play. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Like I said, Madolches are one of my favorite decks. They've been around for a while. I feel like we could get some more support eventually in the future, so that would definitely be something to look forward to. But as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.